Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am literally so thrilled to have you here today because, well, we're going to tackle something that I think every single one of us struggles with, that constant, totally exhausting noise inside our own heads. Today, we're diving straight into Dr. Marcus Penn's framework for understanding the real mechanics of inner peace, and this is all drawn directly from his incredible work in positive psychology. You know, we're not just going to sit here and tell you to think positive. No, we are going to look at how to completely rewire the way you interact with your own thoughts. So let me ask you a question. What's bothering you the most right now? I mean, really take a second and think about it. Chances are your mind just immediately jumped to something external, right? Maybe your job, your bank account, or that one super frustrating person in your life. But here's the uncomfortable truth Dr. Penn wants us to face. The real source of our mental exhaustion, it's almost always internal. It is the mental storm we create by trying to control things that were, honestly, never ours to control in the first place. To quiet that storm, we've got a really clear roadmap today. We're going to build 5 pillars to reclaim your peace: the illusion of control, action over outcome, escaping the velocity trap, questioning your thoughts, and finally, your inner cheerleader. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Dr. Penn points out a really harsh truth, saying the uncontrollable obsession is killing our mental health one overthought at a time. Think about it. We spend hours replaying old conversations, wondering what someone really meant, or just twisting ourselves into absolute knots trying to fix toxic people. And the thing is, those thoughts don't just pass through our minds, they basically set up a permanent camp of anxiety in there. This whole uncontrollable obsession is exactly what we need to dismantle. And that brings us straight to pillar 1, the illusion of control. Since we were kids, we've all been sold this false equation, right? The idea that control equals success. We're taught that if we just plan well enough and worry hard enough, we can actually force our environment and the people in it to match exactly what we expect. Dr. Penn uses this incredibly vivid metaphor for this. Just imagine you're gripping this thick, heavy rope. You were pulling with all of your might, trying to drag your partner's mood or the economy or the future right toward you. Maybe you're just trying to force a simple smile out of your grumpy boss. But the harder you pull, the more exhausted you get. Why? Because the other end of that rope is attached to thin air. You are quite literally pulling against variables that you have absolutely zero control over. Think about the things constantly pulling at you right now. The past, other people's opinions, external outcomes. Letting those go, that isn't giving up at all. It is a massive act of bravery. Because when you finally release your grip on what you can't control, you instantly gain immense power over the only things that remain: your reactions, your boundaries, and your own integrity. Which leads us perfectly into pillar 2, action over outcome. Now, we have to address the giant elephant in the room here, that crushing anxiety over a future that hasn't even happened yet. Look, we live in a completely outcome-obsessed culture. And when you tie your identity to a pass or fail result, your mind jumps straight to the end and just paralyzes you. But when you shift your identity to the present action, just the raw effort you're putting in right now in this exact moment, you step into a state of flow. You stop constantly evaluating your self-worth and, well, you start actually experiencing your life. Whenever that future panic hits you, Dr. Penn offers this brilliant grounding question to pull you back down to reality. What is one thing I can do right now? Not tomorrow, not when the stars align and everything is perfect. Right now. Answering that single question plants you firmly back into a manageable reality. Because, let's face it, small, consistent actions are what actually build those big outcomes. Okay, moving on to pillar 3, escaping the velocity trap. Literally from the second we wake up and grab our phones, our minds are forced into a dead sprint. This is what we call the velocity trap. We have completely mistaken speed for actual productivity. Our addiction to instant gratification, those nonstop messages and constant multitasking, it completely fragments our attention, and it creates this baseline hum of anxiety. It's like this constant low-level stress that we've somehow convinced ourselves is just a normal way to live. Crazy, right? When we're trapped in that super fast speed, our thinking is entirely reactive and driven by fear. We react before we even understand what's going on. But slowing down, that's intentional. Dr. Penn points out that slowing down creates this absolutely crucial gap between stimulus and response. And that tiny little pause, that is exactly where true wisdom, better decisions, and genuine human connection actually emerge. Next up is pillar 4, questioning your thoughts. Here, we're looking at cognitive behavioral therapy, but not as some clinical way to fix a broken brain. Think of it more as a tool for profound curiosity. Imagine your mind as a courtroom. Your thoughts? They're just temporary visitors making really wild claims. So don't fight them, but definitely don't just blindly believe them either. Put them on the stand. Cross-examine the evidence. Start asking your thought, hey, where is the hard proof that I am definitely going to fail? Because if you don't cross-examine them, your brain relies on these lazy mental shortcuts, known as cognitive distortions. Things like overgeneralization, where you take one single failure and assume you're going to fail forever. Or mind reading, assuming someone is mad at you when you literally have zero evidence. And my personal favorite, catastrophizing, turning one minor mistake into a total life-ending disaster. Like thinking a typo in an email means you'll be fired and living in the woods by Tuesday. Our minds just love to invent these worst-case scenarios from completely incomplete information. To break those distortions, you can try this really simple 3-step process. Step 1, just notice the thought. Step 2, use what's called thought diffusion by labeling it. Literally say out loud, I am having the thought that I'm a failure. Do you feel the distance that creates? And then, step 3, put it on trial. Observing your thoughts from a bit of a distance like that completely strips away their power to control you. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. Emotions are meant to be visitors, not residents. Letting painful feelings arrive, feeling them, and then actually letting them pass naturally, rather than fighting them off or letting them move in and sign a lease, is the real secret to emotional stability. And that brings us to our final and honestly most intimate section, Pillar 5, your inner cheerleader. This is all about that constant, often really cruel internal dialogue that runs in the background of our minds from the second we wake up. Dr. Penn shares this brilliant metaphor here. Think of yourself as the brand manager of your own life. A real professional brand manager would never go around running a smear campaign against their own product, right? They'd never announce to the entire world that their company is garbage. So why are you doing that to yourself inside your own head? Your inner critic lies to you, it catastrophizes, and it causes total paralysis. But your inner cheerleader? Listen, this isn't about some kind of toxic positivity, it's just about being realistic and supportive. Speaking kindly to yourself, saying something like, hey, I made a mistake, but I can learn from this. That builds sustainable resilience. It doesn't make you soft or lazy, it makes you brave enough to get up and try again. So, the crucial point boils down to this. Control is an illusion. Choice is reality. Choosing peace over chaos. Choosing to be your own ally instead of your own saboteur. And choosing to act in spite of your fear, that is honestly the only real power you have in this life. Let's quickly recap these 5 pillars you can start practicing today. Let go of what you can't control. Shift your focus to present action. Intentionally slow your mind down. Question the terrifying stories your brain invents, and be your own supportive brand manager. Just remember, a quiet mind isn't some magical final destination you arrive at. It's a daily practice of choosing awareness over all that mental noise. I want to leave you with this deeply provocative question from Dr. Penn to ponder. If you can't forgive yourself, who benefits? The answer? No one. Continuing to beat yourself up over the past serves absolutely no one. So release that heavy burden of guilt, put these 5 pillars into practice, and finally step into your own peace. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and until next time, be kind to your mind.